as I said, working on multiple activities. For my BTech thesis, I was working on a defense project, primarily to detect vehicles from overhead cameras. So we had to build the complete data set, build the neural nets, everything ourselves. And then when I got a scholarship to do masters at University of Maryland, my professor was like, neural nets and all this is fine. The main thing you have to learn is like agent systems. So how are agents going to collaborate and take the things along? And coincidentally, I was just clearing up my old books, like, I'm in my parents' place. So just taking up one of the books that I picked up that my professor suggested. So it's talking about how bots should work together in a setting. So this was during my master's time, so where the agent behavior came in. It was too early and ahead of time. And finally, that particular block diagram, actually, we are trying to start to put it to use in this thing. So for my PhD, I worked on robotics. So this robot that you see behind me in the background screen, so that is a robot that we built, the Mitra. And the key areas we were working on was mainly building human-robot interaction. How do we build the state-of-the-art collaboration between humans and robots? So there is a human a headset. So that headset, if you see that thing, so it's a brain-computer interface. The goal is for patients with paralysis and so on to be able to have their fulfillment done. So for instance, let's say you're trying to grab a bottle of water and you would not be able to like your brain will still fire the intent, but then your muscles won't be able to do that action. So in that particular lab, so what they are trying to do is use our robots, but then be able to map that brain intent and then take it, whatever that it is firing to the muscles, let it fire to the robot, so that the robot actually can bring the bottle to you. So rather than you trying to grab with your muscles, the robot being helpful to you. So it is a sort of a like an exoskeleton, and this thing we are trying to build it both through external base as well as through a thing connected like prosthetics that is connected to the person's body. So we have been working on some of these things on the brain-computer interface. And so together the robotics and AI can bring in a variety of very, very interesting things to you. And a couple of you asked about will we talk about LLMs in this webinar? Of course, we will talk about. And LLMs carry immense amount of power that most people do not realize how we should tap. So to do that, let me share my screen and show you a couple of things. And let's see if people can work it around. Okay, so so here I'm going to show you one of the things, which is our two of our agents talking together. So one agent is a CSK fan, and other is a Mumbai Indians fan. So if you guys know IPL, know it. And so you can just look at the conversation, and both of them are AI agents. No human intervention is involved. So the only thing I gave was, okay, so who is going to start the conversation, and what is the first shot fired? And both of them are going to like start using some of the sort of the nativity and so on, in a way that most humans cannot differentiate that this is a machine generated conversation from a human generated conversation. So hey, I'm Subbu Patel. Your team failed to qualify this time too. Dhoni Dattala. And then Ayo Subbu, don't worry, bro. Mumbai Indians will always start slow and finish strong. And then it goes into Ayo Machan, Hitman and Talaiva. So these again, anybody so the Subbu as like it goes from a Tamil accent and brings in this thing, and then like the Patil brings in the Marathi Hindi accent to English. So both of them try to so I have like much longer sort of conversations between these agents and a variety of these agents going in. Now, at this point, now it is like where does human the intelligence lie, and where does the machine intelligence lie? And some of them it started like pulling low punches. If you guys anybody know like what Dinda Academy is? Like anybody follow cricket strong enough to understand cricket and social media? And so like so if you guys do not know it, like in the some of the cricket forums, how it would go is like so if you want to really like abuse like fast bowler, you say that you are from Dinda Academy, like poor Dinda Ashok Dinda so he used to bowl in IPL like 10-12 years ago, and then it was like I won't say a thing, but it was not the perfect career that he had. And so people since then in the cricket forums, they would use like, so the thing. And then it started like, they started abusing, like, your team is the chief sponsor of the Dinda Academy. So that level of like, abuses, which like was so, I mean, so because it is something like, so it's human nuances and doing that and started bringing many of the Chennai nuances into that. It started eerily like where does the human start and where does the machine end? So this is like, again, we can make LLMs into forms, anything, and shape that in a form. People often like when they try out Chat GPT with like a couple of times, hey, like I tried to write an email with Chat GPT and it was so boring, and it was like with very cliched things and like something that could identify. So the Chat GPT and the underlying GPT-4 model that you are looking at, it is like a piece of clay in that sense. With that clay, you can make a Vinayaka, or you can just make a lump of rock and to throw it around. It is up to you. It is not the problem with the clay that you could not make the Vinayaka thing. It is at the hands of the app creator. What can you do with it? These carry incredible amount of intelligence underneath that, and building that. Oftentimes I get amazed by the amount of intelligence that carries. So these days I often run in the evening, and then just chatting to ChatGPT. So I have my headset on, and I'm just talking to the engine, and I can have like 30-40 minutes of conversation with the engine, and it's an incredible experience. So it is about how do you tap the power, because if you just go and just type random stuff to ChatGPT, that's not going to help it. How can you make it? And especially people talk about, hey, there's this hallucinating and the things making up stuff. Yes, but that is by design. It is made to do that. But there are a lot of ways you can actually cut down hallucination substantially. So during the class, I have always these days I often have a sort of a challenge session. So I create a chatbot for Mitra, and then so there's a simple code I give it to people, and then the goal is to make it speak something wrong. And you can try to ask something random. It will try to bring you back into the conversation. It will, like, if you ask about a competitor robot, it will say, okay, yeah, those are good, but like, we make something better. And then so like, what is the advantage of this robot versus that? It will give you the stats. So you can cut down hallucination substantially. You can make robots and the agents talk very well. It is all about how do you build that application part really well. So one more I will show you before we go into it. So let me show just 1 second. So I'll first show you this, and then I'll show you the next video.
Hey Raj, it was nice meeting you at Go Native. Really loved talking to you. I'm Jake Weinstein, Olog's colleague and a VP at Mitra Robot.
We want to revolutionize education. We are all learning all the time, but our system is not structured in a way to provide personalized, always-on education. I can be programmed to see your screen and correct mistakes on the fly.
We request your help in connecting to key leaders in education, both at corporate training and colleges or schools. This mentoring would really help our team.
So this is something that we sent to an investor of us, and after our meeting. So the videos are getting like, eerily close, and these are all completely fake characters in this thing. So I can create fake characters on the fly and do that. So since I can create a fake character, can I now clone myself? So I'm going to play this video. Let me know if you guys can.
Future of Learning with Mitra AI's revolutionary agent framework designed to deliver instant, video-based tutoring on demand for any topic on Earth. Leveraging state-of-the-art memory and conversational capabilities, our AI ensures personalized, engaging, and effective learning experiences tailored to your needs. Whether you're seeking quick answers or in-depth understanding, Mitra AI connects you with expert knowledge anytime, anywhere. Transform education with cutting-edge technology that brings the world's knowledge right to your fingertips. Experience the power of Mitra AI, where learning knows no bounds.
Okay, so in that video, so let me come back into the kind of thing. So I just want to see by show of hands, how many see that as a real video and how many see this as a fake video? I mean, I just want to make it as an interactive session, guys.
It's a fake video.
Fake video.
What makes you think that? Why was that a fake video? Or why is that a real video?
Or maybe you have shown first that video and then our minds will relate that, okay, might be a voice transformation kind of a thing.
But I mean, so I'm just showing, so by the way, how do you know that the person's talking is real? Like, how do you know which one is real and which one is fake?
Yeah.
Okay, because I gave a heads up, sort of like a thing for you guys to think through, so that you guys say that this is fake. But what if I did not give the heads up? In fact, I ran this experiments on social media, on LinkedIn, Twitter, and so on. And the jury was always half divided, half people saying it was real and half people saying it is fake. Is it real or fake?
Actually, these days, deep fakes are getting popularized, and it's very difficult to differentiate whether it's a real video or fake video. But by lip sync, it looked like a fake video. So,
okay. How about on the sort of the voice?
voice was also quite it looked like a robotic voice. So that's why, I said as a fake video.
Absolutely. Speech doctor said that is a fake video. So by the way, so this we are training these models to do this thing. And it is in the early stage. So this is the first of its kind where, so the deep fakes usually, involve celebrities and so on. There's a lot of, training of Obama and so on this thing. So here we are talking about not a deep fake, is a virtual player who will just join Zoom. I showed you a couple of those videos earlier too, those things. So those are all AI generated. And these are AI generated in a few seconds. And the back end, the content is also given by AI. So the AI gives the content, AI generates the voice, AI generates the video. All of them, they are AI generated. Again, you're at this point seeing some, this thing is the words, because I purposefully also speeded up that video. So the video was running at 1.5x, not at 1x. Because at 1x, what I was seeing was there was a lot more people thinking it was real than it was fake. So I just wanted to make it a little bit more easier for the humans. Let me push it at 1.5x. And then made it use less of my training data, so that it becomes easier for humans. Because 2 months from now, you cannot take it for granted that the person who's speaking now and answering questions to you now is a real person. Okay, so these people can, as I said, join in a Zoom call, talk to you, look and feel like a human, and respond to you. And I was just joking yesterday with one of our investors. He was very excited, to take it this thing. I was just joking that how do you know that the person joining real and this thing. So when the person starts sounding dumb, then we'll know that it's a human. So because the AI is going to sound much smarter, it might sound a bit robotic, but that's what we are trying to add more accents and also more mannerisms in that backgrounds and so on. And I also joke that so we can play around with the speeds, and then when if somebody says, hey, like, it doesn't sound like you, Balaji. Hey, like, my Zoom call, my connection is like, pretty weak today. It's raining outside. So that's why the voice is not that way. I can always do that thing. So it is the virtual agents that are coming in, and it can change in a variety of jobs. The way do it, the customer facing roles, the teaching roles, and so on. But what I wanted to show you is there is the road to AGI, we call it. People think that AGI will be something like, it'll be like in a big newspaper announcements and a big billboards. Hey, AGI has arrived. AGI is not going to come in that way. It's going to be coming in like small incremental ways. And you are not going to realize that AGI is already there. And the AGI is, right now, it is not there yet, but it's very, very close. And the kind of conversations you can make LLMs generate is insanely crazy. And the kind of like video output it can generate is again insanely this thing. And we are talking about like in just like 1.5 2 years, how much we have left in that, like, if you remember, like, 2 years ago we were chatting with, like, this Alexas and series of dumb crazy bots which have no kind of value. From that, we moved on to something super engaging and interesting. This is a mind-boggling thing. And in terms of the video realism, these are improving dramatically as we speak. And the agent quality that has been there, that's coming substantially. So this is where we are looking at sort of like two kind of levels, like, so one level, how do I build AI agent, how can I use LLMs, how can I run LLMs locally, and so on. But the bigger thing that we are looking at is how can we build a road to AGI. And the AGI is not going to be like, 0 to 1 step. It's going to be achieved in incremental points. And we're already there in a substantial level. When I mean we, like, the industry in a substantial level of push in getting closer. It's a fascinating new world out there. I'll show you a couple of more things, and then I'll open it up to you guys to ask me questions. So when we talk about this, okay, I'm not sharing the screen, sorry. So we like, we are getting to agents, and then so I always joke that we will first solve AGI, then we'll solve, like, printer, like, making printers work, and then we'll then solve the thing of, like, making simple things like, share screen and all those things work. If it were AI doing it, it won't forget that it should share the screen and so on. So here we are talking about, we have built this thing called the Gen AI Impact Framework. And part of it, we are going to be looking at in the class. So there are 6 levels in which the LLM industry is evolving. The level 1 at the top is we call it as innovators. So these are companies that are building the models. So if you go back to the operating system world, these are the companies that are building the kernel of the operating system. So the Microsoft that was building the Microsoft's Windows kernel, and like, the Linux Foundation was building the Linux kernel, and so on. Like a small group of people, like, focused on R&D, focused on algorithms, and so on. So this is where this is happening. And while there are a lot of companies that are training their own models, this is going to be a bloodbath very soon. So there are not going to be like thousands of models or tens of thousands of models. It's going to get compressed into 3 or 4 winners at the max, just like operating systems. There's going to be a Windows, there's going to be a Mac, there is going to be a Linux. So if you're a geek, take the Linux. If you're like, caring about user experience, go for the Mac. If you're going to care about the broader compatibility, go for Windows. Just three things. Similar thing is going to happen, the bloodbath in terms of model development. There are thousands of them, because at one point of time there were like 11,000 car manufacturers in the US alone, and there were like 7,000 airplane manufacturers. So eventually they all get like bought, killed, acquired, merged, whatever we want to call it. So this is what will happen on the innovators this thing, because training an LLM is super expensive. So there is going to be a massive consolidation. 3 or 4 companies are going to manage it. So a lot of the value is going to be created, especially in the 4 to 5, 2 to 5. So companies that are builders, like, so if you are going to the operating system world, companies that are building building the applications. As I said, the LLMs, like, if you just go and chat with it just like that, without knowing prompt engineering, without knowing the building the right application, it's going to sound dumb. So because we are not using it that way, it's like, me getting into a Ferrari without knowing, like, how do I drive, then I keep complaining, dude, like, I cannot even lean, I cannot put my coffee in the thing, this car sucks. It's because, like, I do not know how to drive it like a race car driver. So the builders are the ones who are going to be utilizing the power of the LLMs itself, and they are going to be taking the user experience and the workflows. These companies are equivalent to the Adobes and Salesforce, SOPs in the operating system world. If you think of LLM as an operating system, the kernel is your this thing, and then all your Acrobat and Autodesk, this thing, and so on. So similarly, there are going to be thousands of applications, not millions, thousands of application, large companies. They're going to be focused not on the algorithms itself, but on the UX and workflows. How your LLM gets connected, like what kind of prompts you're going to use, what kind of data you're going to use, what is the structure, what is the design of this entire workflow. So that's going to be the key. So the builders have started coming. It's still early stage in which the builders are working on. In fact, during the course, this is one of the things I constantly look at: companies that are building on top of LLMs, like creating massive amount of value. So rather than going into a super expensive game of, like, buying your own GPUs and running it, building your own workflows and building that billion-dollar LLM application companies rather than the LLM model companies. Then the third one, which is the one that is capturing most of the profits at this point. These are companies that are the enablers. There are thousands of them at this point. Starting from, like, Nvidia, which is selling the chips, like, and Azure, which is selling the compute units, to a variety of companies that are, like, building up, like, the various parts of the pipeline, like, unstructured.io, LangChain, Llama Index, and so on. So this is the enablers. And the enablers are all about how do I do integration with as many of this as possible, and where can I tune the performance at various parts of it. So this is going to be quite an important one. And then, so as I said, like, at this point, like, over 50% of the profits in the entire industry is captured by the enablers. So these enable all the other 5 layers to work. And, like, from training models to testing and all those things, the enablers provide all this thing and capture. The second biggest profits in this entire industry is captured by the customizers. These are companies such as Accenture, to variety of, like, these solution providers. So what they are trying to bring in is, like, what LLMs to use, like what kind of data to use. So if you are having a kind of data, for instance, yesterday we had in our group, so we have hundreds of, like, pretty senior professionals now in our community, the Modern AI Pro community. And then yesterday there was a question, like, I have a CSV data. Like, how do I manage and utilize that? So, like, people, like, came up with a couple of this thing, like, can use these models and so on. So one of the things that we talked about was, how can we take the CSV and then put it into pandas, get it out in SQL, and then run SQL queries, let the LLM run SQL queries and make it out of it. So how can you, how can you select the right data structure? How can you select the right kind of the sentence splitters, and all this thing? That's what the customizers are going to be looking at. And this is going to be coming from, like, not from model development, but from the domain expertise. Like, so what works in the healthcare? And then in healthcare, if I have to, comply with HIPAA compliance, where should the data reside? So can I, fine tune the model with the patient data? Possibly not. So all these things, that's what the customizers bring in. This is going to be decided from domain to domain, from business to business. There are going to be key decisions. Should we fine tune? Should we do RAG? And within the RAG, should we do vector databases? Should we do scalar databases? It's all going to be on the customizers. Then there are companies that are not building for LLMs for somebody else, building for themselves, the utilizers. These are this thing, they care about operational efficiency. So in my company, I'm going to replace the customer service role. where is the efficiency gain of that? In my company, I want to replace or at least reduce the this thing like the effort of the trainer who's training the boot camp. Now, how can I do that thing? Where can I bring the automation? So these are all things on the efficiency part of it. There's a lot to be gained. And then it's all about now looking at a particular workflow and then trying to figure out where is the optimal part. How can I cut 15 seconds over here, 30 seconds over here, and then start connecting so that by end of this thing, there is going to be a cumulative like one head count that could be reallocated and then used better for the company. Then there is this whole like ecosystem of this thing, like building the governance part, the security part, the guidelines part, and all this compliance part that is going to come in and so on. So people often like when they come into LLMs, oh, like I don't want to train a model and this thing is a small part. It is like trying to become a software engineer and say like the only software role that works is like you have to build operating system kernel. I was in that in this thing. So I was like in the designing the kernel for Windows, and then I was also like in the model development. But those are like very small set of roles. So, like you don't need to be the one that is building the models. You are majority of the profits as well as majority of the jobs and the value. It's all going to be on that levels 2 to 6, which is where the big chunk of the things going to happen. So we are going to talk about how the model is developed, how LLMs are developed, how other good old fashioned AI is developed. There is not much secret in how LLMs work. We will demystify that part. It's this thing, but then it is now pure question of pure function of money. How many GPUs do you have? Like did your grandfather leave you like eight thousands in some pot? So it is, if you have that resources, then you go into the innovator and be the model developer. If not, you should not be looking at model development as your secret sauce. You should be looking at the other areas, and we'll walk you through the various aspects of this. And we have like a bunch of other things that we go through. So like since we are running short on time, I will also put in a couple of these things that we will look at.
Yeah, Balaji, there are two questions.
Yes.
If you're not seeing it, one question is how many LLMs are available in market as of date? And
Okay.
Question two, where do you see opportunity for the Indic LLMs?
Absolutely. So how many LLMs are out in the market? It is hard to say, because if you do you include fine-tuned LLMs in that category, or do you have only things built from scratch? If you include fine-tuned LLMs, it is about 1.1 million LLMs out there. So lot. If you don't include fine-tuned LLMs and just include things from scratch, it's in the range of about 5,000 to 7,000 LLMs. In both numbers, it's a significant number. And there's a lot of things that is happening in the trend. So one is the multimodal LLM, how can we train LLMs from scratch to understand different aspects of it, including vision and audio together with this. So we, as part of Mitra AI, we built a couple of these things on multimodality last year. And we'll talk about the multimodal trend. And one of the best multimodal models, apart from GPT-4o, is the Anthropic Claude, which is uniquely multimodal, and natively multimodal in that thing. So we'll also talk about how can you have multimodal models in your local system running and deploy them. So there is this one multimodal trend happening, and other is smaller LLMs called SLM. So how can I make LLM run on my own phone, on my, that's the sort of the holy grail. Over the next few weeks to a couple of months, we should have a solution, like we mean the industry as a solution in that. So it is about, in your phone, if it can run, now, so it can try to remember and okay, in Swiggy, I have to order this thing, or in this thing, I have to bring in, because it can understand the screens and the behavior. It will be running natively. and start be able to be weaved into multiple applications in this thing. And then the third part of it is like how the data itself is managed, what structure is makes sense, that the vector database makes sense, scalar database makes sense. How do we make LLMs like do SQL queries really well? At this point, they can do SQL queries, but can I do with a lot of joins? Can I like, because at this point, like many of the database engineers either to keep their jobs, or because they inherited from like decades and decades of early this thing. It just they're keeping a complete mess of database systems where you need like pages and pages of joins to make anything work, because of this is the legacy and thing. So how do you make this thing work in that kind of a mess? All those things people are working on. But these are the three broader trends: on the one on the data, one on the smaller agility that can run on the phones, and other on the bringing in more and more models in that thing. I'll take some more questions. Let me look at the chat window just one second. What is the future outlook of SLMs? I'm very excited about SLMs at this point, because you can make it work in a lot of interesting settings. Like we are using onboard on our robots, as I said, like onboard on your phones that can work with multiple applications, onboard your gaming controller, so that you can have your AI agents working alongside, like in shooter games and so on. There's a bunch of this thing that is there. And Indic part of it, it is interesting. There are few things that are coming in. So one of the biggest problems like Indian languages have suffered always is there is a lot less training data, which is like incredibly sad. In that, like small languages like Icelandic have like lot more training data than many of the languages in India, which are spoken by like over so close to 100 million people. It is just sad, because people do not like create content on Wikipedia, Reddit, and so on, and those are the training data that is very essential for you to do training on your model, fine tuning the model, and so on. So the Indic language models primarily suffer from the problem that, like, the Indians, we do not take our languages seriously, and we do not write content. If you start generating more content and figure out a way to license the content from like various media, local media, and trying to bring that into social media and get the conversation going, then we will have it. Until then, the Indian languages LLMs are going to be inferior. Hindi will do good. Couple of South Indian languages do good because like a lot more people are taking seriously in terms of content creation. But it's not the AI engineer who is the problem. It is the people, the content creator who is the problem when it comes to Indian languages.
Yeah. Balaji, also there are a few more questions. What do you see? Where do you see the opportunities for Indic LLMs?
That's what. So the Indic LLMs are going to be. So there are going to be two on the Indic, so does it understand the Indianness, like again, as I said, so it being able to understand Dinda Academy and being able to look at Ayo Machanga, this is not there. So all that thing that is the Indic part of it. So there again, it is trying to mimic the thing in a English, Tanglish, and part of it. So in that, it will do really well, because it is mimicking the people that way. But then where, if you're talking about like native Marathi or like Bengali, Malayalam, and so on, it's not as good yet, because there are not many Marathi people or Bengali people or Malayalam people who are like chatting on Reddit and other places, creating that content. So that's where the content creation is much more in a variety of topics. Then that LLM quality will be substantially good. Until then, it will be like a sort of a mixture. So in fact, I when I tested, and I told the Patil character is a Maharashtrian, and include more of Marathi in that thing. But still, it was defaulting him to Hindi in this thing. Which again, if you know the Maharashtrian politics, it's a similar this thing. So it's not a LLM's problem; it's a broader cultural, political this thing where the person shifting to Hindi instead of like keeping the native Marathi in that thing. So those are the problems. It's, as I said, like the content is such a way that it doesn't fully respect the builder's thing. Whereas when I make it stick to Tamil, it is slightly more. Again, even Tamil suffers from the same thing, but the amount of content is bit more there. So it tries to the GPT-4o tries to respect that thing a bit more. So it is a set, create more content in your own languages. The LLMs will really love it.
Yeah. One more is Aditya is currently in electronics and telecommunication branch, studying machine learning, learning algorithms in machine learning. Are there any algorithms used in LLMs?
There's a bunch of algorithms that are needed to build the LLMs itself. So, for instance, this famous thing that is underlying this thing called transformer architecture. And so again, there is this encoder and decoder part of it. We'll talk about. So those are algorithms, and they came from a long line of evolution in neural net algorithms, like including LSTMs and RNNs and so on. So yes, the current evolution of this thing, the transformer architecture and beyond, where we have built it, it is from a long line of algorithmic improvements that have happened this thing, and also the algorithmic improvements that have happened on the linguistics side. So over decades, the US government, among many other governments, they have been investing so much on language. Do you know why they invested so much on language? Anybody? Why would a government invest so much on language technology?
For simplicity.
But I mean, this is a US defense that is investing on language. Why would the US defense invest in that?
Spying?
Yes. So CIA wants to read, know what's going on across, they want to, take in media across, and they don't have enough agents that they have, like human agents. So they want to make sense out of this thing, like on all the news media that's going on. Is there a terrorist this thing and so on? So the DARPA and so on have invested heavily on language understanding. In general, war is one of the greatest motivations to create technology. And your whole computers were created because people wanted to break the code of the enemy, like the and came up with this thing that Turing and so on came up with that. So the language part, since the 40s, US government has been looking at, I want to know what's going on with the thing. I want to pass in a bunch of this thing, can you do OCR on top of it? I'll give you a newspaper. Can you make that into a text? Then send it to somebody, my analyst will just read through a newspaper in Pakistan or somewhere some corner of the world, and I want to understand it. And then next step, I want to go, I don't even want to know just see it on the screen. I want to know what's happening in that thing. So they've invested heavily on that thing, funding variety of news this thing, and that hybrid of the linguistics, like Noam Chomsky and so on, and the group of computer scientists. So that thing, over 50 to 60 years of effort finally bore fruit, and so it's a bunch of algorithms. Like some of these algorithms we will talk about, vectorizing and so on. So that's, yes, so it's a long result of things. It's all on war. Like as I said, war creates innovation.
Yes, there is. Are fine-tuned models means foundation models trained on internet scale data?
So the fine tuning, it's a broader thing. So, but usually what happens is you have already a pre-trained model we call PT. So the PT model is already trained on internet scale data and already doing well. Let's say you take the Llama 3 model, works very well out of the box. Now you want to make it work in a certain way, the output format in a certain way. So let's say you are a legal for law firm, and you want to take that thing and then make sure the output gives out in, like, it can make legal briefs. So you tell it, like, so like, this case and that case, it will make a legal brief out of it. So you want to control how the output format is. So you will take a bunch of legal this thing and then fine tune it so that the output is structured. So you are not adding significantly to its thing. So you are going to give it, like, say, a 5,000 legal structure for format. You are controlling the format. You are not adding significantly to its brain. Its brain is already fixed. You are adding to the output. So if you want to control how the output is in your particular domain, like, legal or healthcare and so on, then you fine tune it. So it will be trained on hundreds of terabytes or maybe tens of terabytes of internet scale data, on top of which you will be adding a few megabytes or probably a couple of gigabytes of this thing. So it's like what you're adding is a very small chunk of that overall thing that is trained. So it's not going to dramatically make it smarter in a different thing. It's just going to say, hey, like, my guy wants the output in this way. So the fine tuning will do that. If you want to add significantly more, add more data, you have to be looking at RAG. Fine tuning is about controlling the format in which the LLM gives out the output. Like RAG is about adding significantly new data on the fly so that you bring out the thing. What is the difference between LLM models and ML models? So good old fashioned ML, it is a, like, like statistics in a nicely packaged way. So in fact, like in our course, we start from the very basics of machine learning. Like, so it's basically you have a bunch of points, and at points you're connecting you with the curve. Okay, so how do you connect with that? That is your the machine learning. So we do that, and then we got onto neural nets. So neural nets become a big function approximator, where you are not just connecting a small group of points. You are using the full power of linear algebra. So from just statistics, you are extending to linear algebra, and you are creating a like a engine that can sort of like take in some input data points and then extrapolate in this thing. So that is with deep learning. And then LLM is one kind of a deep learning model, often built on top of transformer architecture, where you give it enormous amount of language data in a particular format, and it starts predicting one word at a time. So we call it a token prediction. So at this point, you can think of the token as a word. It is predicting one word at a time. And so it's like sort of like, you can think of like a mala. It is making that thing. So you make that one token. So for instance, if I say roses are, it's going to predict, okay, the next word should be red. And then you are going to continue that mala in that thing. So next one, so roses are red. What is the next one? Okay, violets. So it is a LLM is one kind of a deep learning system, which is predicting one word at a time and keeps adding that word to a string. And also it should know how long is a string. So it will sort of cut off at this point so that it creates a nice garland for you.
Yeah, Atharva is asking, is fine tuning better or RAG a smarter choice for custom output and personalization?
Apples and oranges. So as I said, fine tuning is about controlling the structure and format of the output. RAG is about adding significantly new data in and out. RAG is substantially more powerful and valuable at this point to the businesses than fine tuning. Yes, fine tuning has its own use cases, but a big chunk of business problems are more solvable with a RAG than anything else. And we'll talk about RAG is super powerful in what it can bring.
What about the synthetic data? Is if it's really gonna replace the AI models by 2030, according to this report?
We do not know yet. So that is something like the synthetic data part of it. People have been talking about. So at some point, would LLMs not even need the humans to do that thing? Can they create their own data? Quite possible. So, but when and what point of time that would occur, we do not know. but it is something like something that's quite possible. We just do not know when.
Okay.
So by the way, I'll just show you one quick example. So people often get confused about can LLMs do real-time data, or can it so LLMs are trained like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, so can it provide real-time data? So I'll show you one example of it. So here I have a notebook. Okay, so in that I'm going to be talking about let's say I give it the thing, compare like RAG versus fine tuning. And then I want to have it in the tone of Arnab Goswami, and this is real time data we are talking about. So I will do that thing. So what it has to do is it has to go and take this in search, and then it has to apply the LLM on top of it. So of course, RAG versus fine tuning, your LLMs by default won't know it because it's a very recent topic. So it has to understand okay, what is going on. So I have to run all the different pieces of it. So here is as I said, like way to bring in news and real-time data, whether IPL score and so on, and start making the LLM super smart about the real life things that's going on. So I mean, these are some of the ways that we things that we will be running during the thing. So so I'm giving the LLM a particular character. As I said, the task is it has to figure out like what is happening with RAG versus fine tuning, and it has to do it in the tone of Arnab Goswami. Okay, the battle for AI supremacy, and you can see that is a lot of it is all caps. Because if you know Arnab Goswami, that's what is. So the RAG, the game changer, and then it talks about and fine tuning the old guard. So yes, so LLMs can be so this is actually creating a complete data on its own, or so if I talk about say Navjot Sidhu, and talking about say Pakistan losing to USA cricket team. So this again, happened like few days ago. So the LLMs won't know it. So now it is so kya baat hai doston? So it is like it is creating completely this is a kind of a synthetic data, and it is like trying to create a whole news report on like Pakistan losing to USA, and the LLMs can be made to understand what the latest news as of this minute, what's going on, and it can do like bunch of tones and stuff. So as LLMs know to create tones, it can try to create its own synthetic data. So which is something quite possible. But yes, so it is extremely crazy, like what LLMs can be made to work with. People often say, hey, LLMs know only to 2021. LLMs can know until today. It's about how you make it know it. Any final question before we?
In your opinion, which area within AI will bring most jobs and money?
So as I mentioned in the the levels, level 2 to 6. So especially for India's this thing, the level 4, the customizers who are building a variety of the solutions for various industries using the domain expertise. So that is one area where India can really play to its older strength, and building that. So that is like the customizers. And then the builders, building the key applications where there will be a bunch of jobs, as well as the enablers, building the tool sets and so on. So these three things, 2, 3, 4, the builders, enablers, and customizers are where, especially on India, it's going to be most of the jobs and profits created.
Okay, yeah, that is Ganesh. And can you share a real world example where the impact framework was used successfully?
I mean, what do you mean, like the real world work of impact framework? So the framework is for you to understand. It's not about like successful or failure. Okay. So I think like you're not understanding the what a impact framework. So the framework, as I said, like for you to look at where the value is created, and then look at it.
Okay, I think yeah, that's what we are done with the questions here.
And those of you who are joining the Pune session next week, welcome you guys. And then so next week we will be, like as I said, I've given some sneak preview. We will be like building it from scratch, and it's going to be a fun session.
Yes, and guys, Balaji is all the way here in Pune, and we are doing this 3-day workshop. As I said right in the beginning, if you do this workshop, I don't think you would need any other course anymore. And the link is actually here on your chat screen. You can also reach me on the number that I have actually given, and we would, for the joiners of this particular workshop, we would also give you some discount. However, Balaji coming all the way from San Francisco, spending a lot of money here in Pune and taking hands-on workshop, the worth that I actually put, the cost that we have put, people really laugh at us, but still for the joiners of this particular session, we are going to give some discounts to you. Yeah, will the workshop be available online as well? Yes, Harshaditya, yes, you can join online too. For the people who cannot join in person, so on Friday it would be Balaji will be starting roughly around after lunch and then up to 8 p.m. and then Saturday, Sunday in person it would be in Shivaji Nagar. And if you cannot join, maybe because it's a rainy season, but if you don't want to miss, please you can join online.
Yes, we do a hybrid model, like people, half the people joining virtually, half the people joining this thing. So this is a model that we have done quite successfully in multiple other cities. This should work. Like whether you're joining remote or this thing, so the value will be the same.
Yes. And on top of it, if you join, we also give you an opportunity to, discuss your problem statements, and, Balaji is gonna solve it. Maybe we call it as one-on-one mentoring sometimes, but we also have very active WhatsApp group. There are thousands of followers across the globe for Balaji, and you can join in. And if you have any questions, you can just post it to the numbers that I have given. I will reach to Balaji and give you the solution once I discuss with Balaji. Yeah. Any more questions, guys? Anyone would like to ask any final questions before we depart? Person, you can come and talk. Ganesh, are you around?
Yes, I'm around.
Yes, Ganesh, Balaji, he is one of the leader who is actually kind of very active in technology space. Very few techno-functional leaders I have ever seen. And Ganesh is, and still he is busy. So yeah, over to you, Ganesh.
Hey, I think it was a great session today, and looking forward to attending this in-person session next week.
Yeah. Any more people, guys? If not, then Balaji, any parting thoughts?
Come come with an open mind, and there is we are at a very, very important juncture in history.
Yeah.
It is about so the world is changing in a dramatic fashion. So we want to be like catching the bull by the horn. You cannot avoid it, but we can do substantial amount. Thank you.
Absolutely. We are going to post this on our YouTube channel, and maybe by in a day or so, it would be live on our YouTube channel. So you can also take, repeat telecast and see it. So thank you so much, guys. Thank you from Agile Waters Consulting and Balaji, Mitra AI. So thank you so much, all of you. Have a nice weekend. See you.